U.S. President Donald Trump has threatened to impose a 35% tariff on imported Canadian goods unless a trade agreement is reached by August 1st.
Canada is not open to us.
We are not alone in this world. We need to be closer to our own.
Something big just happened in North America. Something so bold, so calculated, that it could reshape the relationship between the United States and its northern neighbor for decades to come. Canada, the country often seen as the quiet and polite partner in North American politics, has just dropped a $40 billion economic bombshell, a strategic move that directly targets industries Donald Trump has promised to dominate. This isn't just an investment. This isn't just about jobs. This is a power shift, one that could make Canada the gatekeeper to the resources, technology, and global markets that America desperately needs. And if you think the U.S., and Donald Trump in particular, aren't going to react to this, think again. This is the kind of move that could trigger a new era of competition and maybe even conflict between two of the world's closest allies. Earlier this week, Ottawa revealed the details of a massive $40 billion strategic investment plan, the largest of its kind in Canadian history, aimed at securing a dominant position in three critical areas: the mining and processing of key minerals, large-scale green technology manufacturing, and independent energy export infrastructure. It's not an exaggeration to say this plan could alter the economic map of North America. For decades, Canada's economic growth has been tied closely to the United States, with most of its trade and industrial activity dependent on American markets. But this announcement signals something different. This time, Canada isn't just looking to grow its economy. It's looking to take control of industries that the U.S. itself has been racing to dominate. The timing is no accident. With the global economy rapidly shifting toward renewable energy, electric vehicles, and new supply chains that bypass unstable regions, Canada has decided that it wants to secure its place at the top before anyone else, including the United States, gets there first. At the heart of this $40 billion move is a decisive push into critical minerals. We're talking about lithium, cobalt, and nickel, resources that are essential for everything from electric vehicle batteries to smartphones, wind turbines, and even advanced military technology. Right now, the U.S. depends heavily on imports from regions like South America, Africa, and Asia, often facing price volatility and geopolitical risks. Canada, however, holds massive reserves of these minerals within its borders, and until now, much of that potential has remained untapped. The new plan changes that completely. Billions of dollars are being poured into developing mines, refining facilities, and transport systems that will allow Canada to not only meet its own needs, but also supply global markets. And here's the strategic kicker. By controlling a reliable, politically stable supply of these resources, Canada could effectively become a gatekeeper for industries the U.S. cannot afford to lose. If American automakers and tech giants want those minerals, they might have to get them on Ottawa's terms. The second pillar of this strategy is clean technology manufacturing. And here's where Canada is taking direct aim at one of Donald Trump's signature promises: bringing manufacturing back to America. The investment plan includes funding for some of the largest EV battery plants and renewable energy technology factories outside of Asia. These aren't small operations. We're talking about facilities designed to produce at a scale that rivals the biggest manufacturers in China and South Korea. Once built, they will supply not only Canada's domestic market, but also Europe, Asia, and yes, the United States. But there's an important difference. These factories will operate under Canadian trade rules, Canadian labor laws, and Canadian environmental standards. That means if U.S. companies want access to the products, they'll be negotiating directly with Canadian suppliers instead of relying solely on American production. For Trump's America First agenda, this is a direct challenge, one that puts Canada in the position of manufacturing leadership in a sector the U.S. has been fighting to control. The third major piece of this plan is perhaps the most quietly powerful: liquefied natural gas export independence. Currently, much of North America's energy exports pass through U.S. ports and pipelines. This gives Washington a degree of leverage over where and how energy is sold internationally. Canada's new $40 billion plan includes the construction and expansion of LNG export terminals on its Pacific coast, giving Canadian producers a direct shipping route to Asian markets. This is a huge strategic shift. By bypassing U.S. infrastructure entirely, Canada gains the freedom to sell its energy to whoever it wants, whenever it wants, without needing American approval or cooperation. In the global energy game, independence like this is priceless, and it's something the U.S. is not going to be thrilled about losing. Donald Trump's political brand has long been built around the promise of restoring America's manufacturing might, securing energy independence, and ensuring that the U.S., not foreign competitors, dominates the industries of the future. But this Canadian plan cuts across all three of those goals. By securing control over critical minerals, Canada makes the U.S. dependent in a way it hasn't been before. By dominating clean tech manufacturing, Canada competes directly for international contracts and investment dollars that could have gone to American companies. And by achieving LNG export independence, Canada removes a key area where the U.S. previously held geographic and logistical advantage. If Trump returns to the White House, he will inherit a very different North American economic landscape, one where Canada is no longer simply the cooperative junior partner, but a strategic competitor in some of the world's most important industries. In Washington, this move has already set off alarms. Lobbyists for the automotive, technology, and energy sectors are warning that billions in potential investment could shift north of the border. U.S. lawmakers are asking how this happened, how America's closest neighbor managed to position itself ahead in industries the U.S. has been trying to lead. Some see it as a wake-up call, urging the U.S. to accelerate its own infrastructure and supply chain investments. Others are more blunt, calling it an economic ambush that could cost American jobs and weaken the country's bargaining power in future trade deals. And make no mistake, trade talks will be affected. With control over resources and manufacturing capacity, Canada could negotiate from a position of strength in a way it never has before. This could mean tougher stances in NAFTA-style negotiations, new tariff battles, or even strategic agreements where the U.S. has to concede more than it's used to. From a global perspective, this move is nothing short of a masterstroke. Canada is aligning itself with major markets outside of the U.S., deepening trade relationships with Europe and Asia. In the wake of the war in Ukraine, European countries are desperate for stable energy suppliers who aren't tied to Russia. In Asia, demand for LNG and clean tech products is skyrocketing. By positioning itself as a neutral, reliable partner, Canada is carving out a role on the world stage that's far more influential than its population or military strength would suggest. This is soft power and economic influence in action, and it's happening at a speed and scale few saw coming. For decades, the U.S. Canada relationship has been defined by deep cooperation, shared markets, and a certain level of economic dependence on America's side. Canada has often been cast as the friendly neighbor, quietly benefiting from U.S. investment and market access while avoiding direct competition. But this $40 billion plan changes that narrative. Now, Canada is not just participating in the game, it's playing to win. It's securing the resources, manufacturing capacity, and trade routes that will define the next half-century of the global economy. And in doing so, it's telling the United States, and Donald Trump, that the days of Canada as the junior partner might be coming to an end. Canada's $40 billion move has just changed the game, and the U.S. knows it. The question is, who makes the next move? We'll be watching. If you found this breakdown eye-opening, hit that like button, subscribe for more deep dives, and turn on notifications so you never miss the stories that matter.